how many of you have taken more than a 4-hour course specifically about conflict? And very few people put up their hands. Although when I ask them the next question, how much of your day or week are you as a leader spending dealing with conflict, worrying about conflict, coaching others through it, the quotes I get are more than 60% of their day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women, where we talk about challenges senior female leaders face in being happy and successful at work. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah E. Brown.
My guest today is Charmaine Hammond. She works with organizations and teams who want to effectively resolve conflict, build resilient teams, and generally work better together. Charmaine is an expert in conflict resolution, collaboration, resilience, and just plain working better together. You can bring the power of change to your next corporate event, training program, or conference by booking Charmaine as a speaker. Charmaine is a certified professional speaker, and get this, a certified virtual presenter, and her business, Hammond International, is WBE Canada Certified, and that's Women Business Enterprises, right?
Yes.
Welcome, Charmaine. It's great to have you.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today.
Well, conflict is a big topic, and I'm very happy to have a conversation on this and get different points of view. So, Charmaine, what is the biggest challenge you help female leaders face in business today, and what might be the symptoms of that challenge?
One of the challenges that I see female leaders having around conflict resolution is, first of all, the time that it can take up in an organization. When I speak and train on conflict resolution, I ask the audience, how many of you have taken more than a 4-hour course specifically about conflict? And very few people put up their hands. Although when I ask them the next question, how much of your day or week are you as a leader spending dealing with conflict, worrying about conflict, coaching others through it, the quotes I get are more than 60% of their day. And so I help leaders work with conflict differently, help them become more confident, more skilled, so that they're spending less time worrying, spending less time dealing with it, and empowering employees to actually build these skills as well themselves.
Wow. And so I bet I can guess based on your answer, but what do you see as the biggest mistake your clients make before working with you?
One of the mistakes that I see a lot is people wait too long. And there's a great quote I'm going to share. I cannot take credit for this, but this is a quote by Judge Esty, who I don't know who Judge Esty is. Judge Esty says, conflict is not like wine. It doesn't get better with age. So often when I get calls from leaders, from human resource professionals, even workplace safety professionals, and it has to do with help. I need some help around how I lead people through conflict, or my team needs help. There has been so much time that has gone by, which means the issues are so much more complicated. They probably involve far more people than the conflict originally involved, which means it's harder to get a workable solution. And what's also happened is there's a lot more drama that has built up. So leaders might be more anxious about this. Staff have sort of built their camps within the organization. So when you can deal with it quicker and effectively, of course, but quicker, it allows less opportunity for conflict to take on many different faces in the workplace, so that leaders can actually spend their time leading and not necessarily having to navigate through all the people issues.
Terrific. So what's the number one free and actionable tip you can give my audience to begin to address this challenge now?
I would say the number one thing is, so after you've identified this as an issue and you sort of commit to, I need to deal with this effectively and soon, a great actionable tip is to practice. One of the things that I see all the time, and when I was a mediator, I saw this all the time. I was mediating in the corporate world, in government disputes, and community disputes, even family disputes. And the one challenge I saw is people would, and I'm doing sort of air quotes, and I know we can't see that on a podcast, but I'm air quoting, wing it. People want to just wing it for the most important conversations that could be a make it or break it in a relationship. The actionable tip is prepare. And if I go one step deeper, I'm going to share an exercise that I taught an inmate when I was a correctional officer. That was my first career, how I got interested in learning about conflict resolution. But he had to have a conversation with one of the leaders in the correctional center that I was working at. And he struggled with things like politeness and appropriateness. And I worked with him on a script so that he could prepare himself. And if this conversation went sideways or got uncomfortable, or he felt, that his emotions were rising, he could keep control and maintain his credibility. So we had him write down the most important points that he wanted to share in this meeting he would be having with one of the leaders of the unit. And then we challenged him to actually go into the washroom where they had mirrors. They weren't glass, but he could see himself. And so he practiced, and we challenged him to practice what he wanted to say 10 times. And the difference in that conversation that he had in real life the following day versus every other conversation I had witnessed was like night and day. He was more calm. He was confident. He wasn't accusatory. He wasn't judgmental. He wasn't reading things into what was being said, the undertones in a conversation. And it actually, I think, was empowering for him because he saw that he didn't need to be abusive to get a conversation going and a conflict resolved. So fast forward, I remembered that tip that I learned from that experience. And in the work that I do with women leaders, I apply that very same tip. And I can't tell you how many leaders and even staff, when they've shared this with their staff, have told me the difference in the outcome of the conversation by simply practicing.
Wow, 10 times.
10 times.
Wow. So, Charmaine, what's a valuable free resource you can share with the women who are listening to this to help them understand this challenge better now?
One of the free resources I'd love to provide is a book that I wrote called Working Better Together. And it covers some of what I consider the most important elements of conflict conversations, conflict resolution to be. And it's an ebook think of it like a desktop guide, and I can provide that link to you so that you can share that with your listeners. It's a great resource that has sort of simplified a very big topic. Conflict resolution is a big topic. And if leaders are still learning their skills and building their comfort, there's a lot to learn. So in this book, I really drill down to a 5-step model that works. It's what I used for 10 years as a mediator. And then really powerful questions to ask in conversations so that you can keep the conversation from going sideways.
Terrific. Okay, so I will get that URL from you, and we'll
betcha.
post it in the show notes.
Perfect.
So finally, what's one question that I should have asked you that will help our audience take action to address this challenge? And then would you answer the question?
Oh, great. I just love that question. So I would say one question that can really help is the question, why am I reacting this way? Why is what someone just said causing me frustration or defensiveness or drama or fear, whatever that emotion is? That would be the question. And the answer to that would be for us to ask ourselves that question in our head. It's a little awkward to do that in a conversation out loud, but in our head to say, why is what that individual just said to me causing me to react this way? We make so many assumptions in conflict, and the large majority of them are wrong. We assign meaning to what somebody's nonverbal really meant, and it's usually wrong. And we assign meaning to how we're reacting. So if you can think about, why am I reacting this way? Pause, take a breath, And then clarify the assumption with the person by asking an open-ended question that starts with who, what, where, when, why, or how. What that does is it shifts the conversation from being, I'm going to use the word positional, or where you feel like you have to be defending yourself, to more of an exploration or an open conversation.
What a great idea. Terrific. So Charmaine, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you. I appreciate the conversation, and it's such an important topic for leaders.
Thanks for listening to the KTS Success Factor podcast for women. If you like what you are hearing, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave a review. And if you would like more information on how we can help women in your organization to thrive, then go to www.sarahebrown.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, read show notes, and learn more about our podcast guests, read my blog, browse through the books, or contact us for a chat. Goodbye for now.